Did you always, like if I was in high school with you, 13, 14, 15 years old, did you always have an absolute killer instinct where I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna prove the wait till you see what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna kill this guy when we face him? Was it always like that when you were in high school, or that kind of developed later on?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it developed over a period of time. And I think there was a work ethic that was in me. I think most people probably know a few things about me, but I was never, I would say, like a prodigy. You know, I wasn't like the kid where you see Tiger Woods swinging on the Johnny Carson show at 2 or 3 years old, and you know his swing looks as good as it did at 3 years old as it did, you know, as he grew older. Or certain players that had this unbelievable prodigy aspect to themselves. I saw myself as someone who probably had some other traits that maybe were hard to identify, but that were really sustainable over time, which was, I would say, work ethic and discipline. And that was instilled in me by, I think, my parents. I mean, there was part of it that they gave me, but also just behaviorally growing up in an environment where my dad was out to work every morning, you know, trying to go make a living for our family. And my mom woke up every day trying to figure out how to make sure the home was comfortable for us and, you know, to support the kids. So there was this discipline that I had that even as 13, 14, 15 years old, where all these other boys were, I went to an all-boy school in the Bay Area, and I remember showing up my first day as freshman year. I didn't have much, you know, hair under my arms or anything like that. I was like, and these other kids came in shaving, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I didn't know how to put the pads on in my pants when I tried out for freshman football. I mean, I had never played until that point except in the street. So these kids came out there, they had, you know, helmets and shoulder pads that they had worn for 4 years through Pop Warner. And I went on the field and I was like, I'm gonna get killed out here, you know? And my freshman year, I didn't even play. I was the backup quarterback on a team that went 0-8. That says a lot. I couldn't get on the field and we never won a game anyway. I mean, it's one thing to be the starting quarterback and to lose. If they don't even think you're good enough to be a starting quarterback on a team that's 0-8, you must really suck. And the reason why I played my second year was because that quarterback quit because he's like, I'm not playing football anymore. We suck. I'm going to focus on basketball. So naturally, I was like, oh, cool. I'll continue to, you know, work on my skill because I actually had a halfway decent arm. But a lot of it was even going into my second year in high school. There were workouts in the morning at 6 a.m. before school. And I was like, okay, I can get up at 6 a.m. and I can go do these rope drills where you'd run through the ropes. You see a lot of people do that. There were these hills that we would run up. And there was probably less than 10 people there, but I was probably one of the 3 that were there almost every single day to try to continue to push myself to grow in these maybe physical areas that I was really behind a lot of the other people at. Because naturally, no one's good at everything. I mean, that's just not the way life works. We're all talented at certain things, but we can really continue to improve our weaknesses if we're humble enough to identify them, and we can build on our strengths. And I think we're all trying to find a more well-rounded aspect to ourselves, but a lot of that has to come with this understanding about yourself that what you know is very limited. And opportunity every day to surround yourself with people to help you grow. And that could be, in my case, it very much was my parents early on. And then as I learned to love the sport of football, I was watching kind of on the periphery of pro athletes, but there was my freshman year in football, I didn't even play. Literally didn't play. Maybe 2 or 3 passes. The coach from the sideline screamed at me one time my freshman year, "Brady, you're moving in slow motion." And I was slow as shit. Still am. So going into my second year, like I said, the guy quit ahead of me, so I became the junior varsity quarterback. There were 3 teams in my high school. And I had a coach named Bob Vanal, Perry Carter, Joe Hession at Sarah High School. And they were there for the football experience. They were having as much fun as the kids were. They didn't see it as varsity football. They were there to embrace the love of the game. And for the kids that weren't good enough to play on varsity, and they really took me under their wing. And we had so much fun that second year. I love my football experience, one of the great years of my entire life. I really started working hard with Tom Martinez to throw the ball better. My third year, I won the starting job in my high school. And I loved the sport so much that I stopped playing basketball and I just played baseball and football. But in the summers, I would go, and my dad, who was very available to me, with the greatest mentor, the greatest dad I could ever imagine, was so right there by my side to say, hey, Dad, I want to be a better football player. Great, let's take you to the University of Arizona camp. Let's take you to the Cal Berkeley camp. Let's take you to the Stanford camp. You know, this is when you just sign up and there's 1,000 other kids and you're just in a group, and you know, that's just the way it was. But my dad was there to say, go for it, son. And if there was a blessing in my life that I would say, you know, some of the things I blessed with: hard work, discipline. You know what I was also blessed with? Being very naive. I had no idea how hard it was. But I believed, because I was like, oh, no, like I'm gonna get better, and I'm gonna be better. Well, all you do is you focus on the starter, the second guy. You don't worry about what you're focused on. You came here to be the best. I want you at this program, and if you're gonna be the best, you gotta beat out the best. A certain amount of repetitions in practice, the starter would get 20, the backup would get 10, and I would get 2. And I'd go in and I'd say, well, how can I ever get better? All these guys get all the reps and I only get 2. And he said, just go in there and focus with the 2 that you got and make them as perfect as you possibly can. So I said, okay. But I did. They'd put me in for those 2. Man, I'd sprint in there like it was Super Bowl 49. Let's go, boys. Here we go. What play we got? And I did really well with those 2 because I brought enthusiasm. I brought some energy, and I had a little more confidence in myself. And it went from 2 reps to getting 4 reps because those 2 were pretty good. Then I had 4 good reps. Then I got 10 good reps. And before you knew it, through this new attitude, through this new shift that Greg had said to me, you know, focus on what you can control. Focus on what you're getting, not what anyone else is getting. Whenever you get an opportunity, you take advantage of it. You treat it like it's the Super Bowl. You treat it like it's game day. Go out there and treat practice like no one else does. And I did that every single day. And it was a lot. It was taxing on me. There was a lot of stress for me, even in high school. And I look back at those times, it wasn't probably like a typical college experience because I was really motivated to play, but I had to take it to a new level that the other guys wouldn't. So going into my 4th year, now I had competed freshman year, sophomore year, I'm going into my 3rd year. And I had learned these tools to compete. And I said, whatever they asked me to do, that's what I'm gonna do to the best of my ability. And I went in there, I competed really hard my 3rd year, and I lost the starting job to Brian Greasy. And Brian Greasy led the team to a 12-0 national championship that year. So I was part of a national championship team, and I barely played. So I go into my 4th year, and I was like, now's my time. I worked hard to compete my first 3 years. Going into my 4th year, I got a great opportunity to play. And I worked hard. It's time for me to come. And they recruited a kid named Drew Henson, who was one of the top prospects in the country from Michigan, right next door to University of Michigan. And here he was coming in the door that everyone knew about. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So all the fans and all the media, they weren't interested in Tom Brady, backup quarterback to Brian Greasy, Tom Brady, backup quarterback to Scott Dreisbach his first year, or Scott Dreisbach his second year. But I said, you know what? I'm going to apply the same thing that I had learned in those previous years. I'm going to go out there and compete as hard as I can. And I'm going to treat practice like a game. And I'm going to gain the respect of my teammates every day through my work ethic. I'm going to work hard in the weight room. I'm going to work hard in the film room. I'm going to work hard to be a good student. And going into my 4th year, it was a little bit of a battle. And my teammates named me team captain. And I won the starting job. And we had a good year. We finished 10-3. In our bowl game, we played in the Citrus Bowl. And we came back from I think it was a 10-point lead in the 4th quarter, and to win the game. And I was like, man, that was unbelievable. Now that I'm going into my 5th year, like, we're gonna have a great year. I was 10-3, learned a lot, beat everyone out. And then I showed up, and Coach Carr says, well, you're gonna compete with Drew Henson to be the starter. I was worked really hard because I developed this work ethic in high school, and I realized, man, if I want to be good, I gotta I got to wake up in the morning and I got to do the extra work. And I got to show up when other guys aren't. And I've got to learn. I've got to continue to be open to learning. And my freshman year, I redshirted. Never played, barely practiced, but I learned a lot. My second year, I had improved a lot physically through that work.